Today's guest is Jeff Stevenson. Here are a couple of quotes from people that have worked with Jeff. You never fail to amaze me how you can change your act to suit the audience no matter what age they are. It's always a pleasure to work with you. John Potter of Potter Holidays. There are only a few British comedians that I would book to entertain an American audience, and Jeff Stevenson is one of them. Jonathan Blackburn of Blackburn International. In this chat today with Jeff, we talk about his acting, we talk about cruises, we talk about him being a blue coat, we talk about Bugsy Malone the movie, we talk about his writing, we talk about showcases, Doodles Club, Ray Allen, Alan King, blue material, red material, green material. It doesn't matter. He's done it all. And who is Harvey Oliver? Find out on this edition of Eyes and Teeth.
Hi, Steve, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, buddy. What have you been doing with your time, mate? Do you read books?
I've been doing a few bits and pieces. I did that film, I think you might have known about, which was a low-budget movie.
Oh.
It was a week's filming, but it's only for festivals and all that. But I think it was quite good, and they're quite excited about it. So
that's fantastic. What's the premise of that?
It's a snooker player, an old snooker player.
Oh, wow.
Who's washed up and it's all gone wrong. And he's making a comeback, and it's just him talking to the camera, and he's meant to be in the dressing room before his big comeback, and then it all gets a bit dramatic.
Brilliant, man! Oh, I can't wait to see that. Is that something you've had a hand in writing, or is it just you just played the part?
No, it was a lovely guy called Joe Wemborne. Who's,
I know Joe, yeah.
Yeah, so he was the one that asked me, and it's all good. Lovely company called Visualise Film.
Oh,
yeah, really good.
Mate, I can't wait to see that. That's brilliant. Wasn't Joe? He's quite connected with Jamie Allen, isn't he?
He is. That's right.
Yeah. I last saw Joe when I worked with Jamie back in London. We'd done a gig about 10 years ago or something. So,
all right.
Mate, do you know when that's coming out? That sounds great.
Well, they're editing it the next few weeks, so
fabulous.
See what happens. I don't know much about it. All I know, we did a week's filming, and they're doing putting all the music on and all that stuff at the moment.
Snooker Loopy, are they using that?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing it when it's all put together.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It's not loosely based on Hurricane Higgins, is it, or is it just made up? It's all made up.
No, it's nothing. It's not based on anyone really. It's
okay.
He's a fictional character,
Fiction.
But he does talk about snooker players that we all remember.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. I wrote a piece with my Arthur Lager character, and it's I wanted to put something out there that was completely not Steve Hewlett, so which is not cabaret, not holiday parks or cruises. So I wrote a piece all about Arthur, and he's kind of born in 1937, and then I've got a puppet made for like every 10 years of his life. So it's it's just 1 hour piece, and I opened it. It was the last show I'd done actually before lockdown. But when you're involved in a piece like that, it's so nice, isn't it, to put it on the stage and or put it on camera,
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Oh, well done, mate. That sounds fab. And it's obviously occupied your brain for quite a while as well, sort of.
Well, it was a lot of rehearsals because it was like 22 pages of script, So I did about 10 Zoom rehearsals with Joe, and it was great. But it taught me it taught me a lot. I enjoyed it. It was just working in a room with 4 blokes for a week it was just great. I mean, and the guy who was the director of photography, Dave Thorpe, he was absolutely brilliant because he's been there, done it, got the T-shirt, and he was really good. It was like a masterclass.
Oh, fantastic! And it's just basically nice to be back at work, really, isn't it, mate? So nice to do that. So it's like it's all starting to come back gradually now, which is good to hear.
Slowly.
Slowly. Yeah. I mean, you've got how many cruises do you think you do a year usually? Is it around
normally between 35 and 40.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy from going from that to going down to nothing. So, are you writing every day, Jeff? Are you still writing?
Not every day. No, I write on the move, but I'm not writing every day. I wish I was.
Yeah.
But no, I normally have to have a deadline, and if you said to me, right, you got a gig next week, then I'll be writing for a few hours every day and trying to get just be as topical as I can. But no, I must admit I've not been writing anywhere near as much as I should do. But when I was on the ship, I was on the Arcadia towards the beginning of lockdown, and that's a story in itself. But I started writing every day, writing my memoirs just for Facebook, and it was brilliant. I mean, it was lovely to get up in the morning and do it.
Yeah.
I did it for 5 weeks.
Gives you something to get up for on a ship, doesn't it?
Yeah. I miss it actually. I miss doing it. So yeah.
And you're so quick-witted. I can tell that you're itching to get back out there because it's a passion, isn't it? Yeah. Comedy is in the blood. So and I watched quite a lot of your work yesterday actually, and there's some brilliant clips of you on the TV. I want to go back to. Were you ever a blue coat or a red coat?
I was a blue coat for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I was a green coat for 6 weeks.
Right.
At Coronation Holiday Camp, which is now Lakeside.
Yeah.
I was illegal because I was 15.
Okay, I was 17, and that was still illegal. You had to be 18, didn't you? So you were 15. Wow. 15.
I did it. It was meant to be just a few days. Now I stayed 6 weeks, and then I got asked to audition for a series called The Big Time with Esther Rantzen.
Okay. Wow.
And sadly, I left the job because they wouldn't give me a day off, and I went down to Butlins in Clacton and auditioned. I was only 15, and the brilliant Tony Pearce got it, which was deservedly so.
Oh wow!
So so it was good. And then I did go to Pontins Sand Bay, which is still there. It's not Pontins anymore.
Yeah,
Bay.
I still do it. Yeah.
Yeah, Western Supermare, and I did 2 weeks there. And then I got offered a Levi Jeans commercial from my agent, who was June Collins, who was Phil Collins' mum, and she from the stage school that I'd gone to, and she offered me, she got me an audition for this Levi Jeans commercial. Once again, they wouldn't give me a day off, so I thought, and I went and did the audition, and I got it. And it was,
brilliant!
A long time ago.
Yeah.
It was So that was good. I mean, that was 2 days on a commercial, and it paid what I would have got
for that season, probably.
for 2 seasons.
Oh, really? Wow, brilliant! Yeah. So you went from red coat to denim coat. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. It never was a red coat. Always wanted to be a red coat.
Oh, blue coat, wasn't it?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a red coat. That was what I wanted to do, but never actually got round to wearing the red coat, which I would have liked to have done. Yeah,
I mean, you say that the last thing that you've done was this play that you've just been involved with, but you started out in acting, didn't you? I mean, the first thing that you done was Alan Parker's. We recently lost.
That was one of the first things I did. I did lots quite a bit before that, but in the months leading up to that. But yeah, sadly, no longer with us. We lost him last week, Alan Parker.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I played Louis in Fat Sam's Gang in Bugsy Malone.
It's amazing. Yeah. What a classic movie, though, eh? It's,
everybody says that, so yeah.
They're brilliant to be part of. I mean, how old were you then? You were 14, weren't you?
14 when we filmed it. 15 when it came out.
So 14 on your first movie and 15 on your first summer season. So it's going well.
It was. It's not gone so well this summer, but...
Well, yes, same for everyone, mate. But we are feeling about all of our brothers. You know, we're water rats, and so we worry about our brothers, but we worry about our fellow comics and everybody in the business. So, but I do see a light at the end of the tunnel, mate, and we're hoping that we see it quicker than we hope. But so on that movie, Dexter Fletcher, I mean, he's an amazing director now, isn't he? He's doing a lot.
He's a lovely. We still keep in touch. He's great, Dexter. He's doing really well with the directing. I mean, I thought Eddie the Eagle was fantastic, and I thought the Elton John movie was fantastic recently as well.
He's involved in some great movies.
Maybe he's a nice guy as well.
Maybe he can direct this once your snooker play has gone out. Maybe Dexter can get involved in that. That's take it to the big screen.
You never know in this game.
Yeah, so I mean, you're a traditional stand-up comic, but people they call it old school, but you're not old school. You always bring it up to the present day. When I worked with you on a cruise ship, you had the audience, so mainly Americans actually, in the palm of your hand, but literally crying, mate. And everything on that day I saw was topical. And do you have an actual set that you stick to, or do you just wander off whenever you want and come back to it? Or?
I've got a basic set or basic routines. Then I go off. But if I'm doing a show on a ship, if I'm not doing 10 minutes that I've never done before, in at least 10 minutes that I've never done before in that show, then it doesn't feel like I've done a show really. So
really?
I like to. I'm addicted to the trying to bring in new stuff. But I've got a lot of routines that I still do that have been polished over the years.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to leave out,
Sure. It's nice if you can pluck it out, isn't it, when there's a gap for it, and you can get the audience, if they're going quiet, you can just bring them straight back again, and so that's
absolutely
great. You have to know your audiences. Do you judge an audience in the first few minutes and then cater those jokes to that crowd? Do you?
Well, I think I can judge an audience before I go on. I sort of walk around. If I'm on a ship, I'll walk around and I'll know what they're like, I could just tell the way they're being around the ship,
Yeah, well, you're on there for a week, and you're like judging them sunbathing, eating, sleeping. Basically, you do get to know your audience on a cruise, don't you?
Yeah. But I mean, very rarely am I wrong. Before I go on, I'll know whether they're going to be tough or not. But I'm like most comics, and I'm sure yourself, where if someone says to me, "Oh, they're a tough crowd," then I'm going to go out there and I'm going to work extra harder, and I'm going to get them, or I'm going to try to get them. If I don't get them, it's. But then other nights, the worst thing anyone could say to you, especially if you've not seen them or not been mixing with the audience, and they say, "Oh, they're a lovely crowd. You're going to love them." And you go out, and it comes as a shock when they're really horrible,
And it's strange. It works the complete opposite direction, doesn't it? Because some cruise directors have said that. Oh, they're brilliant. Everyone's had a great show. And I went on, and you think, oh, I don't have to work too hard. I'll just do my thing. And then you start, oh, hang on, I'm struggling a bit. And then you have to start putting a bit more power into it. But I've also been on a ship where... and this is probably my third cruise ship I joined. And the cruise director, I was on with Diane Cousins. There was a couple of other acts on. And they said every act has died this week. And they said the cruise passengers, I don't know what it was. They were upset. They didn't get some money back for a tour or something or it rained. I don't know. You know how quick the passengers can get upset. But they took it out on all the acts. And I went on and I died as well, so I joined them all. It was like lemmings jumping off a cliff, You just and it was like, oh wow, thanks for the warning. But I tried to work harder for them, but they weren't giving anybody any joy. Yeah,
it does happen. They're just like normal club audiences. I mean, we both know that you can do 2 shows in a night. And you go one place, absolutely die on your backside, and think, well, I'm never going to be funny again. And you go up the road, walk on, do the same act, and you're a hero.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah.
But what they used to say years ago, what are they like? And the comic would go, oh, they're laughing gas. Which you never hear now.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? It's I mean, that could actually happen on a ship when you've got 2 shows in one night. You can go out and have a really good one, and then an hour later, same show, same room, different audience, but it could not go as well as the first one. And I always found that strange, how the environment is always the same, but one audience can just be completely different to another, which keeps you on your toes, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. What about the nights when you go on and you do really well, but you don't enjoy it, and you come off and they say, oh, that was great, and you go, you know where you messed up, and where you lost your timing, or where you I don't know, you made mistakes.
Yeah.
But another night you go on and they're tough, but you come off and you think, I mean, that really worked. I really worked well there tonight, even though you've had a tough night.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
It's very strange.
It's strange how your brain works. One thing that gets me when I come off sometimes after a cruise show, and the ents manager in a holiday park, and I think I've gone down really well, and I come off and they went, oh, they were tough. And I'm thinking, what? I thought I just had a good hour, Yes, I mean, everyone's got a different perception of it, haven't they, really? How you gone down?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Showcases are quite, for me in the past, they can be hit and miss. And I remember first working with you, actually, at the Hippodrome in London. And
yeah.
And this was.
I remember that night. I was compere.
You were compere. You were a brilliant compere, and you were you brought me on. And I done my sound check in my.
I remember this night. Yeah.
I've got this on video. I'll have to pull it up online because it's hilarious. Well, not at the time, but because I had all of my cruise work actually based on this spot. So I had like 2004. I was booked on Cunard for the first time, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna work the QE2, and there was another one, QM or Q, I know QVC. I know that was it.
Yeah.
And then so it was a Blackburn International showcase, and I got off a Royal Caribbean ship, and Blackburn said, can you work this showcase for me tomorrow? I went, well, I'm in Ireland that morning and I fly home to London. They said, don't worry, we'll fly you to London and you just come straight to the gig. I went, Jeff's hosting. I went, oh, excellent. All right, I'll do it. So I flew to London. My trunk with all my characters flew to Paris. So, but luckily I carried one of my characters, which was called Butch, in my clothes suitcase, so I separated them, which I never normally done. So I got to the airport and I said, Jonathan, I'm so sorry, mate. I said, my dummies are in Paris having a better time than me, and I can throw my voice, but this is going to be tricky. I said, I have got one dummy. He said, well, can you still do it? I went, well, it's not really the act I want to do the audition with because it's not the strongest part of the act. But you do what you do. So I turned up, done the sound check. I had some new Paynton shoes actually that I bought, but I didn't wear them in the audition. It was basically the audition, wasn't it, for cruises for me. I didn't wear them in the rehearsal sound check, but I wore them when you introduced me, and I didn't know you have to wear Paynton shoes in like tap shoes. So I walked on, I slipped on my arse over tit, and when I look back at the video now. I look back, and you look back as well. You look back to see me fall over. But did you think it was part of my act? Because I think the audience did.
I did, yeah. I thought, he's doing a new bit. Yeah.
It was. Do you know what? That was the best bit of the act because it went downhill from then on.
He was on pretty late, if I remember.
It was late, yeah. And I didn't have the dummies I wanted, and this was the nightmare showcase that I would always reminisce about because, and I always bring your name up. I said, Jeff was hosting. I was really excited, looking forward to it. Hippodrome in London, where they recorded the Ron Lucas show, which Jonathan's father worked on. Actually, he told me that day. And I actually put that into the act when I slipped up. I went, oh, I'm used to cruise ships because you're always falling over, and it got the first laugh, and my brother was laughing his head off because he'd never seen me do that before, and the camera was shaking because I can hear him laughing on it. I'll post it so you can see it again because
I'd love to see it.
I can't wait to see this. He's absolutely brilliant. Will you please welcome Steve Hewlett and friends? Yeah, come on, Steve. I do my own stunts, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. I wore the wrong shoes tonight. Good evening. It's like that on a cruise ship, I tell you. I've just come off a cruise ship, and it was just like that. You want to join yourselves? Your bum's hurting? Mine is. Yeah, you can sit down with that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce our next one.
Oh, mate, it was. It makes me laugh now, but all those gigs I had on Cunard in 2004, because this was 2003. The Cunard were in the audience, and they pulled the rest of the cruises. So I ended up not only was I trying to get some more cruises, I ended up having none. And I can laugh about it now because I've done QE2, thankfully, before it finished.
My cruises with the Americans, or the really busy time, started with a showcase it was about February the 1st, or it might have been end of January in 2000, and Jonathan said to me, do you want to will you do a showcase for me? I said, I don't want to cruise. We've got a baby on the way, I said, I don't want to cruise. So he said, well, will you come along and compare it for me? I said, my wife's heavily pregnant, could be any time. He said, Jeff, if you have to pull out, no problem. So I said, well, just remember, I don't want to cruise. So I went along to the Talk of London, and it was quite a big show, a lot of acts, and you had all the American bookers in, the Celebrity and Royal Caribbean, all these people. And I said to him, I don't want to cruise, so, I don't want them judging me tonight on all this. So he said, no, you're just comparing. So I was comparing, and I was just enjoying it. Anyway, Jonathan said, we've got a problem with the next act. Can you fill for 10 minutes? I said, no problem. So I did 10 minutes on all the reasons that I didn't want to cruise, right? and I was taking the mickey out of cruising. I was really diving into them, going on about, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And guess what happened? I picked up more cruises than I've ever had in my life. I got a year's work out of telling them I didn't want to cruise.
I bet none of the acts got work that night. Just you got.
I think quite a few got work, but I did get loads of work. I mean, Royal Caribbean booked me for the whole summer, and I think Holland and America. It was just loads and loads of work, all because I just did this thing and took the mickey out of cruising.
Do you know what?
So that's what I've done on the ships as well. Whenever we're in a port and there's a problem, I'll go out and I won't have a go and make it, at the cost of
no,
the company
of course,
or whatever.
no.
But I will go out.
You know it's going to get a laugh. Yeah.
Address it as it is and what happened and all that. And 9 times out of 10, or a little bit more maybe, it works, thank God.
Oh, Constantinople.
Yeah, it always works, doesn't it? When you say you're on a cruise ship and you're in Gibraltar, and I do a little routine every time I'm in Gibraltar. I say I stand behind the monkeys and the crowds, and I do their voices, so they all think they're talking until I walk away. So if you add something that they're actually. Everybody's gone to do that. They've gone to New York, the Statue of Liberty. If you put something in your act, which I know that you would do, and I saw it when I worked with you on that cruise ship, and wow, he's doing stuff that he's just seen today, and the audience are with you instantly. And so at that showcase that you just talked about, you've probably grabbed the heart of them executives and gone, this guy can talk about anything. We don't care that he's saying he don't want to cruise. Because he can deal with any situation, and in comedy, that's genius, mate. Brilliant.
Well, that's very kind of you.
Thank you. I mean, where you didn't want to cruise, but you ended up cruising. No one goes to a showcase saying, "I don't want no work from this showcase," and then they end up with just a year's work.
Well, it was in the days when at that time, any cruise that I did was like a week or 2 weeks, and a lot of it was out of Southampton and back to Southampton. But suddenly, the lady who was booking Royal Caribbean, I think it was Robin. She suddenly was coming up with like 2 days. It was when it first started, where you get on, do the show, and get off.
Yeah.
And so you was only away 2 days. It was
nice, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember them, like 2003, I'd done a lot of those. And then actually on 2004, after that showcase where we met, I ended up taking a summer season in my hometown. So I had like 8 months work. So it worked out perfect. So I ended up making a few best mates that season. So things happen.
Colin?
Colin Matthews down at the Hippodrome.
Yeah.
Did you ever do any of those?
No, I didn't, but I knew Colin when I was 17. I was
down in Babacom.
Torquay,
yeah.
And he had a club called, I think it was called Doodles.
Okay.
And we used to go there, and all the entertainers used to go there late at night. Yeah.
Oh, I never knew that. We never had Doodles in 2001. I worked at Babacom with Matt Slack down there, and Doodles weren't there, sadly. Otherwise, we would have gone.
I think he moved into show producing a couple of years later. But I was down there 78, I think it was 76. 77,
okay, wow.
77 or 78 with for Billy and Trevor,
Okay.
Billy and Trevor George.
Billy George, yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They've got some great history, haven't they, of acts? I mean,
Trevor's still around, thank God. He's still...
Yeah, bless him.
I talk to him every now and then on the phone. He's lovely. I just read his book. He's got a book out.
Oh, yeah, wow, I'm going to have to get that. I didn't know he had a book. Brilliant.
Yeah, if you get onto Anne, his daughter, she'll send it to you. It's good. It's a really good book.
I mean, they were quite key in Michael Barrymore's early career, weren't they?
Certainly were.
Trevor George.
He's not very complimentary about him in his book.
Oh, is he not? No.
Yeah, no.
Oh, dear.
He's got. I mean, it's a long time ago. They helped Michael big time, but Yeah.
Oh, but so you're writing a book, Jeff? Your memoirs, or is this just for Facebook, or are you going to put it into a book?
It's just for Facebook, really. I did write the book a long time ago, but I've never published it. And people keep saying, "Oh, you should write." I should do it again, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of updates.
It's finding the time. I mean, you've been writing a book, haven't you? It's finding the time.
Finding the time. I've been writing a book for 20 years, but it's a passion of mine that I love reading books, and writing one has been incredible, really. But so it's sort of like this, but I've interviewed ventriloquists all over the world. Can I talk to you about the vents that you've worked with? Have you worked with any that stand out?
Well, that first season I did for we spoke about this before, but that first season I did for Billy and Trevor, one night there was an act that didn't turn up or was whatever, and Trevor said, "Oh, I'll get Harry." And we all went, "Who's Harry?" And he said, "Harry Bennett."
That's
he said,
it,
he'll come down. And so they phoned him up, and he came down, and he walked in, this lovely, he was quite an old boy at the time, and he walked in, and I said to him, I was comparing, if I remember, and I said to him, where's your props? He said, I don't know, I haven't got any, so I'll just go to the bar and get my prop. So I said, what do you mean, go to the bar to get your prop? And he went, and he came back with a beer bottle. And his whole act was about this bloke being stuck in the beer bottle.
Wow. That's brilliant.
And Harry Bennett, I think didn't you do some research on him?
I asked Roy Hudd, because I heard that Roy Hudd, after I spoke to you about Harry, I thought, wow, I need to delve more, because what you told me was brilliant. And then I worked with Roy Hudd, and I said, have you heard of Harry Bennett? He went, oh, Harry, just give me a few weeks. And a few weeks later, I had this big post from Roy Hudd, and it was this booklet, which was actually a manuscript of his biography that's never been published, like yours.
Wow.
But and it's his whole life of him in the army and venting, doing his vent act out in the army, and I've still got it. I mean, he gave it to me as a gift, which was lovely. And then literally 2 weeks ago, Harry's daughter, I can't think of her name at the moment, but his daughter contacted me and said, I've seen that you've written something about my father. I'd love to give you some photographs for your book. So now I'm going to contact her and have a chat with her and learn a bit more about Harry. So thanks for your information on him. He was fascinating. Really was.
He was a nice man. Yeah, he lived, if I remember, he lived in a little terraced house in Paynton.
Oh, lovely place.
I might be wrong, but I seem to remember. I was only 17, so yeah. Ray Allen I worked with. Ray Allen taught me, this is going to sound terrible, Ray Allen taught me how to put my trousers on.
He didn't teach you how to take them off. That's the worst bit, isn't it?
But he taught me how to put, when we were working a tour for the lovely Myrtle Osmond, Les and Myrtle Osmond, down in Southampton.
Okay.
We were in all these little clubs doing this tour with Ray Allen, Lord Charles, and he taught me. He said to me, "Why your trousers are going onto the floor?" And he just taught me this way of holding one leg up and then doing it, and just a simple thing.
Is that without falling over? You mean?
Yeah. Well, without your trousers going on the floor. And he said, because half the time you're in a dressing room and it's a bit of dirt on the floor, whatever. Yeah. So he taught me that, and he was just such a star. I mean, he was a real class act.
He was. Even
when he turned up, he was before he went on stage.
Yeah.
His off-stage attire was better than most people wear on stage.
He was pristine, wasn't he? Well,
yeah.
I know that he'd done this similar to the trousers story. I've heard people tell me he would teach you how not to get makeup on your collar, and he'd put either a napkin or something around his, so he just wouldn't get the makeup on your. He just had immaculate ways of presenting himself, and a true gentleman as well. I mean, he was a masterclass to watch. I'm pleased I got to see him a couple of times. But you're very, very known for being completely clean. Your material is. You've never worked blue, have you, Jeff?
On the comedy circuit, I did.
I
wouldn't say I worked blue. I worked
just cheeky
probably the language was a little bit more than I would normally do, but it was just really fitting in with the environment,
Yeah, you had to for comedy clubs. You had to kind of reach out.
Absolutely, but on the ships, corporate stuff, warm-ups, and that I've always worked clean. But I must admit, the last few years I've worked really clean. I think for the last 20 years I've not 20 years. The last 12 years I've probably worked completely clean. And I enjoy it because you do get a nicer reputation.
You get a more array of work, don't you, as well? I mean, the different genres of, you can do theatres and you can do warm up for like big names like Johnny Mathis and stuff, and then you could be warming up for a TV show or doing a cruise ship or a theatre or a comedy club. I mean, to have the talent of actually reaching every one of those audiences is not easy to do, but because of your reputation, and you can work blue if you need to, but you don't need to in most of your parts of your life. So it's
out of my comfort zone, if I'm honest. I used to do it as a defence. If I was doing a late night gig and I had to, even on a ship, they said to me one night, "Can you do an adult show?" So I said, yeah, sure. I said, but I won't be, swearing and all that. They said, oh, well, they sort of expect it, it's a really, like... So I went out and I did it, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And afterwards, there was one or two people go, you didn't enjoy that, did you? And I go, well, I did, and I didn't. It was...
yeah, I know what you
prefer
feel.
not to.
Yeah, I've been asked to do it, and people say, oh, that was such a good show, so funny. I bet you can do a good adult show. And I've had agents say, can we book you to do an adult show? And like, what is an adult show? Do they want me just to add swear words to my actual act, or... And it's not so. And I worked in Benidorm when I was 23. I'd done 3 months out there, and I was on between a comic. There was like 2 comics before me doing all the swear words you can think of. Then I was on. Then there was a male stripper and another comic. Literally, there was 6 acts in one night. But I was the only clean act in Benidorm in '99. But it's not something that would sit perfectly with me, actually. I was asked to actually go blue a couple of years ago and say, I think you need a blue act. Go and do comedy clubs it's not for me. I think if it suits you as a personality or as an act, you can make it. Well, I can go completely blue if I worked with the right people, writers and stuff, and learnt it all. But it isn't me, and it's not what people portray me as, really. But you're not a hard comic either. You're not.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I did about 12 years as a character called Harvey Oliver on the comedy club circuit.
All right.
And I really enjoyed that. But I must admit, I wasn't blue, but as I say, I was swearing and I was a bit more edgy.
Yeah. So he was a character. Was he a character?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. It was an extension of me, really.
Right.
An angrier me at the time, And,
yeah.
And I did enjoy it, and I was very lucky to. It kept me at home more than going away. But it was great because mentally it was the right thing to do. Because if ever I worked like that, I was Harvey Oliver, and when I was on the ships, he was like packed away, And,
okay. Like a cheeky little dummy.
yeah. But it was in my brain. I was doing 2 different acts, but really a lot of the stuff was the same act, but with a bit more language,
Yeah, wow. And which came first, your son Harvey or the character?
The character.
Oh, okay.
But that we'd already decided that if our son came along, if it was a son, if it was a boy, we were going to call him Harvey.
Yeah.
So
he didn't come out swearing, did he?
No, well, not then. It's 20 now. He does a bit now. But yeah, I'd already decided on the name. One night, actually, I did this comedy course for the alternative circuit. It was at a place called The Cosmic in Hammersmith. And I turned up one night, the bar's manager, a guy called Dave, he said, why don't you come along on Wednesday, it was Wednesday or Thursday, and do the open mic night? So I said, all right then. I said, yeah. He said, come along. So I went along to do it. I thought I'd try this new material that we've been working on. And as I walked in, there was a blackboard. And I said, what's that for? He said, we put all the names up and somebody wins 20 quid, one of the acts. So I went, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I said, count me out, I won't do it tonight. So he said, well, you'll be fine. So I said, well, put another name up there. So they put the name Harvey Oliver. I said, put the name Harvey Oliver up there. It just came to me. So we put it up, Harvey Oliver, and I went on with all this new material, and I loved it. And I came off, I went to the bar, I'm having a glass of wine at the bar, and I heard them say, Harvey Oliver. And I thought, I'll turn around, and I've won. I won 20 quid.
Pay for that drink.
Wow. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, nice one.
So it was like, oh, right, okay, well, we'll do this for a while. So I did all the jonglers and, my one night at the Comedy Store. I did one night at the Comedy Store. It didn't go any further than that. But did all the other comedy clubs up the creek and the lovely Bearcat and Headliners. Bloody hell. A great club over at, there's a really good club over at Crouch End called Downstairs at the King's Head. I love doing these clubs. Okay. And I still do them now. I still do the King's Head and the Bearcat and Headliners. I love doing them because it's a bit different. Do
you like the intimacy of actually seeing people's faces? Because you've worked at the O2. You've supported Johnny Mathis at the O2. You've worked.
Manilow,
yeah, Stylistics, Bassey. So, what is for you? What is the ideal gig? Is it a small intimate club where you can see the people, or do you not mind doing an arena?
For me,
they're different, aren't they?
The ideal gig for me is a packed theatre on the Queen Mary 2, or I would say Queen Mary 2, absolutely packed theatre.
Yeah.
Mid-Atlantic, where they're up for it, which they always are anyway, and going out there and just having a ball. You know, a lot of Americans I love working to Americans and Australians, as well as the Brits, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's the gig that I really love doing. But I also love doing a comedy club where, as you can say, you can see the whites of their eyes. You can go out there and it's more intimate. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you can involve them more, can't you? And
any gigs where they're laughing.
Yeah, as long as they're laughing.
I listen to these people saying about the outside gigs, and they're going, "Oh, it's not the same." I used to love doing outdoor gigs. I used to go over and do tours in the Middle East with Shawadi Wadi and what have you, and I used to love doing those gigs out in the open air. You know, I know that the laughter's different because it goes up rather than at you because there's no roof. But it's still lovely. I mean, I used to do those Thompson gigs, Thompson Sun gigs.
Yeah, they were always outside, weren't they?
I used to love them.
Yeah, I enjoyed them actually. I had a couple of mozzies on my arms at the end of it, but it was quite a nice atmosphere, wasn't it, outside?
Yeah.
Never thought about that. Never thought about that
because in a short sleeve shirt and jeans or short sleeve shirts. I used to love it.
So we've practiced these outside gigs already, which is nice. Yeah. It is what it is, I guess. I was going to call this because we've been talking about this lockdown stuff and other stuff that's been going on, and then my wife Nina just goes, "It is what it is." So we've been saying that for weeks now. Just everything that goes wrong, or everything that we look at each other and just make a face, we go, "It is what it is," you know.
Yeah, so, I said that on the ship when I was on the Arcadia, and we were only meant to be on for 10 days, a week, and I ended up on there for 5 weeks, and I was with a lovely comic and an old mate of mine. I know you know him, David Copperfield.
Oh, brilliant!
And we
what
became
company?
like the Sunshine Boys. We were like, we were laughing. Just every day we would sit there and laugh. He'd say, "Oh, what are we going to do about that?" I go, "It is what it is," and we were doing that as well. So yeah,
it's a nice outlook, really. But so you and David, did you actually end up doing 2 or 3 shows instead of 1?
Yeah, we did 3 shows. 3 shows plus the cruise director asked me
Q&A.
to do. He asked me to do a show where it was around theme tunes, and did that. And that was great with the band. And,
yes, you're just making stuff up. Did you do like a Q&A and stuff, like a This Is Your Life? And
David and I on the last day did a show called The Sunshine Boys, and the 2 of us came out and we just talked. And we were both laughing because we were saying, "Well, we can't. How can we make this last 45 minutes?" Well, we did an hour, and we hardly touched the surface. You know, it was great. And we had a great time, and I think the guests enjoyed it probably more than they enjoyed our acts because we really were, you know, we were coming up with stuff that we'd both forgotten, but until we got out there, suddenly it was like, "Oh, do you remember that club? And do you remember that agent?" And, you know, and you once you get David started, he's like Ken Dodd. He goes off on one, and I was having to reel him back in, you know.
He's a great act, yeah. I worked with him a couple of times. He's very funny with his crocodile. He does a bit of vent, doesn't he?
Yeah, Chop the Croc.
Chop the Croc. I mean, when you start bantering with a mate backstage, you take that on stage, then that can be that's like comedy gold, isn't it, for the audience? Because that was the first time anyone has seen you and David do that. So that would have been I'd love to have seen that and been there, but not for 5 weeks. But so you were ready to leave though.
It was 5 weeks, but it didn't seem like 5 weeks.
Yeah, I bet it didn't.
It seemed like just a couple of weeks because it was just great. I mean, thank God we had no cases of the dreaded on there.
Yeah,
and so
good.
We were in the safest place on earth.
Where were you? Where were you? Were you at sea?
Well, we started off at Fremantle. And then we got refused entry. They refused to take us in at Sri Lanka. So then we headed towards Muscat, and they refused to take us there.
That's not a bad thing, is it? I've been there.
Well, then we were going to go to Dubai, and they refused us.
Wow.
So then we turned round, and we headed towards. We were heading towards Durban. We got to Durban, and we had to wait 5 days before they would restore the ship with stores and fuel. So we had to wait there for 5 days. Then we went to Cape Town, and they wouldn't take us in Cape Town because there was a lockdown. And so then we headed back down around the Cape and up to Tenerife, where we refueled, couldn't get off. And then we ended up in Southampton. I think it was on April the 10th. and the world had changed.
Yeah.
It had changed completely. We got off, and it was the country was in lockdown. It was the weirdest atmosphere ever.
Mate, that is scary, isn't it, to come back to that? Because you think, I wish I was in America or Australia, but you were there, and it was all over the world. That's what's blown people's minds. Ice and Teeth. You've had your own TV show, Jeff. You had 2 series of a game show, didn't you, called Jumble?
Yeah, I had a series, a variety show called Knees Up.
Knees Up,
was, I think 1984, London weekend, and it was on prime time, Sunday nights, and it was one series. But I was only 23, Steve.
That is young to have your own show. Yeah.
Too young. Couldn't, when I look back, I don't know what they were thinking, and I don't know what I was thinking. When I look back, I loved it, but I was really thrown in the deep end, and I think it was great fun, and it paved a career for me after that.
Yeah.
Sadly, it only went to one series.
That's a shame.
Well, the director, a guy called Bruce McClure, lovely Bruce McClure, he passed away after the first series, and very sad that he went. Sad also that the series never came back. And then I did loads and loads of variety shows, guest spots and game shows,
Yeah, so your face started sort of popping up everywhere.
Comfort zone, if I'm honest. And I did, even in those days, I was trying to write topical material. I used to work with writers, and then years later, when I thought, I won't be doing much more TV now, I suddenly got this series called Jumble, which was a daytime game show, and that did quite well. We did 2 series, and you just keep going. I've been very lucky with the telly. I've had a few television breaks that I've come out of nowhere. I was the warm-up man for Only Fools and Horses. I was one of the warm-up guys. There was another lovely guy called Bobby Bragg. Okay. And I was doing the warm-ups for that, and I knew John Sullivan, who wrote the show, quite well, because I'd worked with him when I was 16.
Wow.
And I suddenly... He gave me a part in one episode, which was called To Hull and Back, and that was I played PC Parker, and that was great to be in a show that was so big. But then a few years later, when the series had really taken off, they gave me this spot as the stag comic at Rodney's wedding.
Yeah, I think that's my favourite episode, Jeff, of all time. It's in the club, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's a big compliment, because there's a lot of brilliant episodes in that.
I know, it was so funny. What's the storyline of your episode?
Well, Rodney is getting married, and the Driscoll brothers turn up. There's a mobile phone. Dell's got loads of mobile phones, and the Driscoll brothers turn up and they want some money. And then they come in while the comedian's on stage during Rodney's stag night, and that's the comedian's me. And there's a load of banter with, dialogue with the Driscoll brothers.
Wow.
So, it's great. It's an episode that was watched. The scene that most people remember is at the end when Rodney's got married and he goes off and he's in the disco, and as he walks out, he says to Adele, I'm on my own now, and he walks out and they play Holding Back the Tears. Simply Red, and that's the one that most people remember from that show.
That's amazing. Yeah. I want to sit down and watch them all. I'm surprised I haven't done it on this lockdown, but we got into Benidorm
every day. The series on the UK, whatever it is, UK Gold, or I can't remember, one of those channels,
Yeah,
I think they show it all the time.
That's one of the sitcoms you can start to watch again and again and again. I mean, like Friends, from the 90s, but Only Fools and 40 Towers. Those 2 are the ones you can just keep watching over and over again. We all grew up with it. It's just brilliant. Have you been out to Cyprus with they have the Only Fools and Horses bars out there?
I've heard about the one out in Cyprus. No, I haven't. I went to the one in Tenerife, and
okay.
As I walked in, they were showing the episode that I was in, and it wasn't intentional. And the bloke at the bar did a double take, and he looked at me, looked back at the thing, and he said, "He looks just like you." I said, "Yeah, no, it's my son."
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, well, I mean, what a memory to be on that show. That's fantastic. Do you have any comedy names that you look up to that you admired when you were starting out? What was your...
Yeah, Jimmy Tarbuck, who I really admire and still do. In fact, New Year's Eve, I was at a party. I was invited along and to get up and do a bit, you know. And when I got there, I couldn't believe it. I walked in, Des O'Connor's there, Chris Tarrant, Tony Hatch, and Jimmy Talbot.
That's
and
television, isn't it? That's the whole of television.
So I'm now bottling it, thinking, I can't believe it. This guy wants me to go up and do a little bit, you know. Anyway, so it was in a house in Kingston. And so Jimmy comes over, what are you doing here? I said, I'm going to do a little bit. He said, what, this party? I said, yeah. He went, he said, I'll introduce you. I said, you're joking? He said, no. He said, I'll have a word with him. And he went out and introduced me.
Nice.
Which was brilliant. So, you know, so it was lovely. So he's a gentleman. I've always liked working with Jimmy, and he was very good to me when I was a young comic. Really good. I mean, you know, Her Majesty's, I did live at Her Majesty's, all because I'd done some warm-ups on shows where Jimmy was on, and he always came over, how you doing, son, what are you doing, tell me what's happening, you know, this, that and the other. So it was just brilliant. I've always admired Des. You know, you look up to him because of what he did with his chat shows.
Yeah, I mean, to get on the Des O'Connor show as a comic was a big thing. It's like the Johnny Carson show in America, isn't it? It's being on the Des O'Connor show is actually quite. But did you ever do a spot on there? Did you?
I did. Yeah, I did it once, and I should have done it twice. But when he came back, and it was Des and Mel. Yeah. And they were doing it London Weekend. I got the phone call on the Monday night, and they said, Jeff, can you come in tomorrow and do Des and Mel? And I said, well, I'm doing the warm-ups for Ready, Steady, Cook. I said, I need to make a phone call and I'll get a deb in. And sadly, the woman who was booking Ready, Steady, Cook turned around and said no. She said, and if you can't do tomorrow, then forget the whole rest of the series. Well, I needed the money, obviously. Yeah. So I had to say no to Des O'Connor. And that was it. That was the last of the series. It never came back. And I was gutted.
It's a shame, isn't it? You get some producers or directors that would help you, and you'll remember that as well. Like you were going to cover the gig yourself.
But the joke was that the end of that series of Ready, Steady, Cook, that was the last one I did because they got this new guy in, and so I thought, well, I should have done it. But there you go.
Yeah. In hindsight, Yeah,
and I used to look up to Bob Monkhouse, and I still do.
Yeah.
Even though he's long past. And there was a comic in the States called Alan King. I was a big fan of his. So, I read
a book of his, I think, Alan. He has like a biog or something.
Name dropping.
Yeah, brilliant book that was.
Yeah.
Enjoyed reading that.
I worked with him, and I'll tell you a story about him. I did live at the Piccadilly, and Alan King was on. It was Alan King, Shirley Bassey, Des O'Connor. It was a big night.
Nice.
So I'm on. Alan King's on. They've thrown him in from New York and all this. So he comes over. He says, "Hey," he says, "You're the young kid." He said, "Heard a lot about you." You know. So I said, "Oh, thanks, Alan. It's good to see you." A young kid. I was 26. I said, "Yeah, it's good to meet you, Alan." I said, "I'm a big admirer." He said, "Okay, son, good to meet you." So big cigar, you know. Anyway, I go on and I go through my material, my topicals, because I've written all topicals for it, and wasn't getting any laughs on the crew. So I came off, and Alan King said, "Son," he said, "come here." He said, "Let me tell you something." He said, "I used to do the Sullivan Show." He said, "And when I used to do the Sullivan Show, if I went on in the afternoon in my rehearsal, and I got big laughs on the crew," he said, "I knew I was in trouble." He said, because they were only laughing at stuff that the audience wouldn't have laughed at. He said, what you did there, he said, I've only been in the country a week. He said, but I know that's going to work. Stick with it. Don't worry about making the cameraman and the sound guys laugh. Stick with that material. So I thought, oh, great. I said, thanks very much, Alan. Anyway, so he goes on, does his rehearsal. They are falling about. They are absolutely loving it. He comes off, he looks at me, he takes a puff at his cigar, he said, "We're in deep shit."
That's brilliant. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, great advice from Alan, but I mean, what a great comeback as well that was.
Yeah. And that night he did go on, and some of the lines did go nowhere. And it was just brilliant, you know.
So he knew his stuff then.
Yeah, absolutely. Great comic.
Wow.
Great comic.
Yeah, you've been brought on.
Worth looking up.
Yeah. I really enjoyed his book, and there's probably some stuff online, actually. I might have a little look at Alan King. He had a TV show where he interviewed lots of comics, I think, as well. And
Inside the Comedy Mind.
Yeah, Robin Williams. Yeah, we had some great acts on there.
Yeah.
That's worth looking up again.
He does a great routine. It's on there about survived by the wife, or it's survived by his wife, and it's a whole routine about. It goes through the obituaries, and he looks at it, he goes, Sonny Hyman has died today, 86, survived by his wife, and then he goes to another one. He just picks it out, survived by his wife. It's hilarious. Got to look it up on YouTube. Very funny.
Oh well, that's brilliant. You've been brought on by a lot of comedy stars, haven't you? Freddie Starr, Mike Reed, they've all brought you on to the stage.
Freddie Starr. I work for Freddie Starr. I'm right now.
Yeah. You're not the only one that said that.
Listen, a lot of people have got stories about Freddie. He was amazing to work with. I did 3 or 4 years with him, 2 summer seasons, and his audiences were superb. You know, they were really up for it, and he was very good to me. I did a couple of tours with him. TV shows with him as well. He was a nutter, of course he was, but he was a funny nutter.
He brought some of that nutty stuff onto stage though, didn't he? Which went a little bit too far sometimes with some acts, But
that's what it's all about.
That's him, though, isn't it?
Chances.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was all right. I mean, I don't know if you got time, but I got a Freddie story, which he said to me one night. He had this stammer, and he said we were in Lincoln. And he says to me, why did you go on stage in that suit? He says, you're too smart. He says, the audience, they don't want to see a bloke in a suit. He says, you got to start working casual. So I said, oh, right, okay. He said, I'll tell you what. He said, and he said to his manager, a wonderful guy, Leon Fisk, he said, Leon, he said, get some money out the float. So they get some money out the float, and he gives me 200 quid. He says, go and get yourself some casual gear. He said, I want it really casual. I said, all right, okay. So I go out that day and I went to this really lovely clothes shop in Lincoln. I bought a pair of kickers, or I bought kickers or whatever they're called. I bought a yellow sort of pair of trousers, very lightweight summer trousers. I bought a Hawaiian shirt, a really nice Hawaiian shirt.
Nice.
So I come back and I said to Leon, I said, I've got the gear. He said, great. He said, now, come in the dressing room. I said, no, I've got to get ready. And he said, no, Freddie's going to do a little bit at the beginning tonight. He wants to try out a bit of stuff because he's doing a TV show on Sunday. I said, all right, okay. So anyway, I go and I've got the Hawaiian shirt and I hear Freddie, he's on. And I hear the band play him on. Well, the band never used to play me on at the beginning, right? So I thought, oh, the band are playing him on. That's weird. So anyway, so I go and I stand at the side of the stage. And I look on stage. Freddie's in a dinner suit. Right?
No.
And the band have all got ties on. So I thought, what the bloody hell's going on here? So anyway, Freddie says, ladies and gentlemen, he said, I want to be honest with you now. He says, show business has changed. He said, years ago, he said, you used to watch comedians who made an effort. And they would wear smart suits and they would look $1 million. But now, he said, these young comics, they just really don't give a toss.
Wow.
And here's one of them. I walked on, the audience are looking at me like, why is he in a Hawaiian shirt when everybody else is in a suit? You know.
Wow, do you know what? Yeah. What a comedy mind he's got on him. I mean, that's an expensive £200 prank that he played on you, but he couldn't do that every night of the tour or the season, could he? So, wow. Yeah. I mean, everyone's got a story. That's brilliant. What do you think of the comedians these days? Have you done a panel show, haven't you? A TV panel show?
No, I've never done one. I like the shows now. I must admit, I like the comics on there. But you've got to remember these young comics now, or not young comics, the modern comics now, they're so original. You know, they really are. They write, which I really I admire that, and I always will. So, yeah. I mean, I'd love a go. I'd love the opportunity. But,
sometimes it's about management, isn't it? A lot of them have got great management that get them on the Royal Variety, or they get them on that show, and what is it, Buzzcocks or Mock the Week and all that, and that's
been going on for years.
Yeah.
that's been going on for years and years. I mean, there's a guy, I've just been listening to his book, a guy called Bernie Brilson, I think he died about 10 years ago, and he had a big management company and film company in the States, and he goes on about packaging, how you would book, all the artists would be booked from his office, and that went on in my day, or in the 90s and the 80s. Bernard Delphont, the Gray Brothers, that was all packaging. It was all their acts a lot of the time. Mike Hughes was the same with Russ Abbott, and I did the Russ Abbott show for 2 years. Everyone on the show was managed by Mike Hughes. So
wow.
That goes on now, and I know the companies that you're talking about now, with the Avalon and Off the Curb, and these people.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's always been that
works.
way. It's show business, isn't it? It's a business.
Yeah, it is. You got like Jimmy Carr and all of his. You kind of see the same names. It's nice when a new one comes along. Have you seen James Acaster? He's one of my favourites.
I've not. I've heard of him. He's very good. I hear.
Yeah, he's really good. And the next one I'm talking to today is Hal Crottenden. I really love his style.
My best.
I will. Have you worked with Hal?
Yeah, many times. Yeah, when I was doing Harvey. I was
brilliant.
Harvey Oliver. I used to work with him a lot. He was a great. He did a few cruises.
Did he do? I was going to ask him about cruises. I didn't know if he did.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not sure if he really enjoyed them, but he did. Yeah, he was on Ocean Village.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a good comic. I like Hal.
Oh, he's brilliant, isn't he? I was just watching his new stand-up, actually, straight out of Crottenden, and it's brilliant, really good.
Yeah, he's lovely, really nice guy. He used to do a whole thing about sounding like Tony Blair.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Now he does a lot of stuff about looking like other people, like Mr. Tumble, and Is that your alarm clock? Your cuckoo clock?
That's the roofers next door. I think one of them's just fallen through the roof.
Oh, not your roof, is it?
Not my roof, no. But
No.
it's the builders next door.
Yeah, well, when we started this, my cuckoo clock went off, and it's just gone off again, so I know how long we've been on. But, Jeff, I really respect and admire you. You're such a great comic.
Steve, good talk. I can't believe we've just filled an hour.
I know we have. It's gone quick, isn't it? Sometimes look at the time and think, oh, blimey. But thank you so much for your time. I look forward to your memoirs. Love to Jane and Harvey.
See you soon. I'll see you at that little club that we go to.
HQ, King's Cross.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff.
Good.
Take care.
Clean that one up. Cheers, mate.
See you on the road. Cheers, buddy.
See you.
Good luck,
Hopefully.
Jeff.
Cheers, bye.
Bye, mate. Bye. Ice and Steve. Since we recorded this podcast, Jeff's movie, Touch and the Blue, has been released. He's won Best Actor at the World Premiere Film Awards in Los Angeles. So congratulations to his team, Joe Wemborne, Dave Thorpe, John Danbury, Anne Micklethwaite. Congratulations to Visualise Films. What a fantastic result. I remember seeing in the summer Les Dennis playing a part of Jigsy, and that was incredible. One man, one script, just sat there performing, putting his heart into it. And Jeff Stevenson puts his heart into this piece, playing Derek Hodges. Very powerful stuff. It's a very sad story, but very moving piece. But Jeff Stevenson, fantastic. I'd like to thank Nina, Lola and Larissa Hewlett for their vocals. All music and jingles by Kevin Dean. Check out Jeff Stevenson on Facebook or Twitter at UK Comic. You can go straight to Jeff Stevenson's website at jeffstevenson.co.uk. Today's quote comes from Alan King. Age, style, where you come from, where you were born, it's different every time. Which to me is refreshing because it says that there isn't any one thing, one formula or kind of character that makes a great comedian. Everybody has a different approach. Alan King. Check out my next edition when I'll be speaking to the hilarious Mickey Zaney.